Okay, today we'll be editing an image that I took in Greer a couple months ago. We had a really nice dark sky, and this is probably the best image that I've ever taken on my telescope. So we've got all of our fit files in Siril right now, and as you can see, the image is going to be NGC 2237, which is the Rosette Nebula, and it's a huge star forming region about 5,000 light years away, which is relatively close to the Earth. So like I said, we took this in Greer a couple months ago, and we had a really nice dark sky. This one came out great. So I'm going to recreate it today. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to do some extra things to it. Specifically like super resolution in Lightroom so that I can maybe print this out, since this is probably the clearest one I've taken. You can see here, we've got a nice visible gas cloud, and this is just one image. So I'm going to register the stars, and I took this on a SeeStar S50. I'm not sure exactly how long this exposure was, but it was probably around an hour or maybe an hour and a half, depending on, based off of how many pictures I have. Probably 10 or 20-second exposures. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. But we have 211 images, so I would say it was probably a good hour at least. Now I'm going to go through and just make sure, take out some of these ones that have a little bit of an off color or any star trails. But if I remember correctly from the last time I edited this, it was pretty clean throughout the most. Obviously we have a couple that were taken out right here. This one's really bad, so that's obviously going to go. We've got a little bit of drift here too. And a lot on this one. A little bit on that one. Alright, so I just went through and took out all the images that had any star drift or anything weird looking in them. And they actually were a lot, contrary to what I just said. So now we're good to go ahead and stack this image. Here are my settings that I'm using. These I just have saved for every time. So we'll stack it. We've got the image in auto stretch, so we'll see what it looks like, and then we'll do a couple things before we start stretching it ourselves. And there we go. So we've got quite a bit of data for this one. This is a really good picture. Like I was saying, this is probably the best one I've ever taken on my SeeStar. And you can obviously see a very big nebula. What's cool about this one is you can really see these clouds of dust that are here. They're super defined, and this is sort of like an eye looking thing in the Rosette Nebula. So that's looking great. That's just the auto stretch though. We're going to do a couple things here. First of all, we'll take out the background. There's a lot of green light in space, so we're going to remove that, and it looks a little bit less greenish and a little bit more darker. You can see the red's a little bit better now. See a lot of detail in this. Next thing we're going to do is calibrate the color. So we'll go here. We're going to find the nebula, which is NGC 2237. And we'll match that. That's going to flip our image for us and calibrate the color to what the data system that this has is. And you can really see we've got some nice defined clouds of dust here. Now we'll do the fun part. We're going to go take out the stars in this, and before I do that, I'm going to save this. Now we will take out the stars. And of course we're going to pre-stretch this. We'll let StarNet start up, and then we will get to stretching this image. While Star Night runs, we'll go over a couple cool facts about this nebula. Like I said earlier, it's about 5,000 light years from Earth, which is relatively close. There we go, all of our stars are removed, and you can really see the detail in this. We're going to put this back into linear, and we will go to our hyperbolic stretch. This is about 130 light years in diameter, and it's 4 times further away from the Earth than the Orion Nebula, except they appear similar in size because it's so much bigger. So we're going to put this to 100 on the logarithmic scale, and then first thing we're going to do is just blow this thing out of the water all the way. And that's pretty bright. It looks decent. Can't see a lot right now, but I'm going to fix that in a second. We'll go over here to the black point, reset this to 1. Now we're going to drag this data over without clipping it, because that's when we'll start to lose data. We're going to get that as far to the side as we can. That's still not clipping. Now it starts to clip, so we'll put it right there. Set that. Now we can just do stretching until we get the image how I like. So you can see we just brought a lot of data out with this. First thing I like to do is just bring the local stretch intensity up, and then get this image looking pretty bright. And this image is really good. It's probably the best I've ever taken. So I think that we can run this pretty nice and not lose data or mess it up too much. As you can see, that's getting pretty bright, so we're just going to leave that there, because we'll darken in a second here. The next thing I like to do is I like to do the symmetry point in about thirds of the image. So put that about anywhere between like 3.3 and 0.4-ish. That's going to make the image brighter too. So we'll play around with that, bring that down. I'm going to hit around the 0.6 mark. Now this is going to darken it up a little bit so we can kind of bring back that detail and not overblow it. And then I'll hit like a 0.9. And that's going to make it really dark, so I'm not going to do too much of that. But yeah, we'll mess with this a couple times. Just going to make it brighter and then darker over and over again until we get a nice, crisp, clean looking image. As you can see, that really brings out the highlights in the image, the light coming out from this cloud. All right, I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. We are going to do a couple things to this in Lightroom, but we have a really defined cloud of gas. Lots of good stuff here. So I'm just going to mess with the color saturation a little bit. And just bring that up a little. All right, and then we can go ahead and save this, and now we're going to bring the stars back into our image. You can see we've got some artifacts here, a little bit more on this side, but as far as the main image goes, which is about here, we only have a little bit affecting the side. Probably not going to really crop this image too much if I do it at all. We'll go back to star processing. I'm going to go to star recomposition on the left side here. We're going to search for the starless image, which is going to be the same image as this. So there we go. Now we want to add in our star mask that we made. And we can go ahead and start to bring these back in. You can see the stars reappearing in this. And I do want to focus on the nebula more so here, but this is a star forming region. You see a lot of them here. So I'm not going to overdo the stars, but we'll just sneak them back in maybe a little bit more than this. I think that looks pretty good. You can see plenty of stars here in the image, but I am trying to focus on the nebula, so we're not going to bring them all right back in. But you see there's definitely quite a bit of stars, and that image looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, put it on my desktop. I'll call this image 1. And what I'm going to do here is export it as a TIFF file so that we can bring this into Lightroom and do a couple of the AI tools on this. Alright, so we're now in Lightroom and we've got this. I actually made this a JPEG. The TIFF was really overexposed and I couldn't get it to export after edits without losing a ton of quality, so that was kind of annoying. The main thing I want to do in Lightroom though is, since this is a 1080p image, I'm going to do super resolution and it's going to blow the image into 4K. So other thing I'll do is I'm going to crop out just these artifacts in the top. I don't want to get rid of these because I'll lose this section. Maybe I can try it in a second, but we'll go here and then let me see if I can just barely get rid of some of this artifact without losing like that. See how this looks. Yeah, it looks pretty good. We could still see all of these clouds and still see this, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that looks pretty good.